It's way too people-y out there. Now that I've been here for a few months and I feel like I'm settling in, I've been thinking about all the homes that I've lived in. Houses, apartments, and now this townhouse. And every time that I tweak or adjust something where I'm living to make it more me, it seems that now, even more than ever, we all need a haven from the busyness of the outside world. A calm in the storm, our soft landing after the world has drained us of all the energy that we thought we had. It's so important to guard that sense of peace because the world does creep in. No wonder so many of us fantasize about living off-grid or living in simpler times, the pioneer days. Although, let's be honest, dirt floors, maintaining wood piles, using an outhouse in the cold of the Canadian winter, that's probably a hard pass. But the longing for safety, warmth, no intrusions, yes, please. Whether you're a minimalist who needs blank space or a collector of things who loves to be surrounded by their tchotchkes, whether you live alone or with a partner, your family, or fur babies. And speaking of furry friends, I have some big news. I recently adopted these two little ladies. I'll tell that story at the end of the video for those of you who want all the details. Looking back, there were plenty of times when my home wasn't peaceful at all. Growing up in a turbulent household in the 60s and 70s, starting out as a young newlywed with barely enough money to get by, or later living in a home where a marriage was coming to a difficult end. I know that many of you have been through seasons like that too. When my marriage was ending, home stopped feeling peaceful. You can have four walls and a roof and a key and still feel completely unsettled within those walls. A home can be a deep exhale, or it can be a source of incredible stress. And that's why I've learned that it doesn't really matter whether you own a home, rent a place, or are living in something temporary. Any of them can be peaceful or stressful, depending on what life is doing around you. When I think about living in homes that I've owned, those chapters taught me so much about hard work, money, perseverance, and what I really wanted out of life at that time. There was a deep sense of pride and stability, for the most part, and I loved my home and making it exactly how I wanted it. You have total control over the space and what you do to it. You can paint it any color you want, and I did several times. And you have equity, in theory, if you're fortunate. But there are repair costs that never happen at a good time, and there's constant upkeep, which can be mentally and physically draining. And then there's the ever-present financial pressure, mortgage, taxes, insurance, house bills. And unfortunately, you may end up feeling trapped if your life changes, but your living situation can't. Home ownership is wonderful when you want roots and you have the emotional and financial bandwidth for all of that maintenance. For me, when I was on my own, the freedom of owning my house often came with the feeling that things were never done, never complete. There was always something that needed my attention. Later, after the sale of my home in 2022, I shifted into apartment living. And it was such a contrast to owning. Living was so much simpler, which is so great for those transition seasons in our life when you need healing, a fresh start, maybe downsizing. And even with rent costs, it may be more affordable month to month than home ownership can be. But there are, of course, drawbacks. The noise, and you never get to choose who lives above you or beside you. There's limited storage. There are rules about what you can and can't do to the space. And there are rent increases that you can't control. Apartments are perfect when you want fewer responsibilities, financially and physically, when you want to focus on your life and not home maintenance or all of the stresses that come with it. What surprised me is how quickly an apartment can feel warm and comfortable and your own space, even when you don't own it. And then there's townhouse living, which is where I am now. A townhouse feels like a really good compromise in between a smaller apartment and a larger detached home. When you want a little more space for living, but not the responsibility of the yard and the property and all of the maintenance and upkeep. But you don't have to worry about upsetting someone above you or beneath you. When I was in the apartment, it was funny because if I dropped something, I'd find myself saying, sorry. Of course, in townhouse living, there are stairs. So many stairs. And you still may need to concern yourself with snow removal and yard maintenance, although on a much smaller scale. There are definitely higher utility costs than an apartment, simply because you have more square footage. But let's face it, we all know that more space doesn't guarantee more peace or more happiness. And one thing I've learned is no matter where I live, I'm always constantly tweaking and changing the home that I'm in. This past weekend, I painted some walls to add some color to the space. I applied adhesive wallpaper to this counter area to give it some visual interest and tie the color into the living room. I hung some different artwork, changing up the color palette. Because every little change or improvement creates more me in this space. And because the arrival of my new housemates has required me to remove every breakable pretty thing for now while they explore the new surroundings. What I've learned while living here and in all of my past homes is it's not the type of home you live in, whether you own it or rent it. It's whether you feel safe and calm and yourself while you're there within those walls. If it supports who you are right now, and if it feels like a soft landing at the end of the day, then that's home. I'd love to hear your stories. Where have you enjoyed living the most? And what have your past homes taught you? What kind of home feels right for you at this stage? Okay, now for the cat lovers who've stuck around, here's the story of how I ended up with 2 new housemates. If you're a regular viewer, you know that my sweet boy cat Bailey passed away in August, right before I retired and right before I moved here. It was a difficult time, and I really needed a few quiet months to heal and to even think about opening my heart up again to some new furry friends. But once I felt ready, life's plans got in quick motion, as they usually do. And 2 tiny little girl cats who really needed a home are now calling this place their home too. There's a cat rescue about an hour from where I am that's caring for more than 600 cats within its walls and with the help of volunteer foster families. They do tireless work, but the need for homes is always greater than the number of available homes for cats. One of the cats, Baby, had been there since early 2023 after being found out in the cold. The other one, Bobby, arrived even earlier in 2022 as a very young mom to 6 kittens. When I learned how long they'd been waiting for a home, when I really comprehended the length of time, I knew that they had to come home with me. They actually knew each other at the shelter, roaming around the general population area with a couple hundred other cats. I knew I wanted 2 cats this time, so they'd have company when I wasn't home. And I don't think either one of them has ever lived in a real home before. So everything in a home is brand new to them, which is why I'm living like a minimalist. These decor pieces are not usually here. I've had to put most everything away for now as they explore their new home. I want to keep them as safe as possible as they discover and get used to their new surroundings. I'm just giving them lots of time, patience, and of course, lots of toys and treats until they feel completely safe and know that this is their home. And again, before I go, I would just like to say a heartfelt thank you to everyone who sent such comforting messages of condolences when Bailey passed. Your kindness and thoughtfulness meant so much to me, and it still does. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I do appreciate every single one of you. If you could like and subscribe so this little channel can keep growing, I'd be so grateful. I hope this day brings you peace and positivity, wherever you may be. Until next time, take care.
Are you a good girl?